Welcome to the Bay Area Case Studies Virtual College Fair. Thank you very much for joining us today. Before we get started with our presentations, just a few quick housekeeping items to go over. The first is that attendees are welcome and certainly encouraged to ask questions to any of the panelists at any time utilizing the Q&A feature. You can pose your question to a specific panelist, or you can ask a general question to any and all of the panelists. Also, just a reminder that your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists will not be able to see or hear you. And after this session are the specific college fair sessions. So if you haven't signed up for those yet, please do so. And about 1 week from today, a recording of this session will be available on that same registration website. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome you to session 5. Today, we'll be hearing presentations from the University of Notre Dame, Trinity University, Swarthmore College, Marist College, University of Miami, and Olin College of Engineering. Without further ado, let me go ahead and turn things over to the University of Notre Dame.
Hi, thank you all so much for being here with us today. My name is Maria Finan, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions at the University of Notre Dame. I also happen to be what we call a double domer. So not only did I get my bachelor's degree at Notre Dame, but I stayed for my master's degree as well. I taught high school English for a couple of years. So for those of you in high school, I certainly understand kind of the position you're in, but I'm really excited to share a little bit with you about Notre Dame and how much I love it, since I did decide to come back after a few years on the high school side. If you're not super familiar with Notre Dame, we are located in South Bend, Indiana. We are an undergraduate focused research institution with a really strong liberal arts core. We're also a Catholic university, although you don't have to be Catholic to go to Notre Dame. We have students from all 50 states and around the world. And I think something that makes Notre Dame really unique is our commitment to this idea of being a force for good in the world. So our founder, Father Soren, had this grand vision when he founded the university that students would go out and use their educations to have an impact. And that's really key kind of to the Notre Dame experience. So not only are you going to get an excellent education in the classroom, but also that really full person development. We have a variety of academic colleges and majors for you to study. The big thing I really want to emphasize with that is that you have an opportunity to explore. So we don't expect you to have it all figured out coming in. If you're someone who really wants to find your passions in college, you have an opportunity to do that during your freshman year. Something that I really loved about Notre Dame as a student and that I love as an admissions counselor is how incredibly strong our community is at Notre Dame. At any given time, approximately 80% of our students live on campus. We do guarantee you housing for all 4 of your years at Notre Dame. Students will stay on for 6 semesters. Maybe that's on campus, or maybe that's some time spent abroad. But your residence hall will kind of be your first family on campus. We randomly assign you to a dorm your first year. Those dorms are single sex, but mixed major and mixed year. So we really integrate you into the community as soon as you get to Notre Dame. You have the ability to move around if you want to, but a lot of students will stay in that same random residence hall that they get placed in as freshmen. The dorms all have their own mascots and colors and special events and things that make them really unique. You also have the advantage, because you have upperclassmen, of you have students to go to really kind of immerse yourself in the community and get to find out about all of the opportunities that exist at Notre Dame. There are a ton of ways to get involved in extracurriculars, in faith life, in service. So I did mention we are a Catholic university. We're welcoming to students of all different faith backgrounds, or students who don't necessarily want to engage in faith life on campus. I think the biggest way that faith to me is really evident on campus is through our students' commitment to Notre Dame's mission and service, whether that's in our local South Bend community here, in the community that you're from, or another community that you hope to serve. I think that all really just kind of informs the character of Notre Dame, and students spend a lot of time really immersing themselves in our campus community and communities around the world, whether that's through research, service, or internships. I know a question I often get is kind of, well, what about kind of after Notre Dame? So not only do you have a ton of community at Notre Dame and a lot of support, but that community and that support continues throughout your time at Notre Dame and then after you graduate. Something we're really proud of is our retention rate. So 98% of students come back for their sophomore year, which is a really good sign that our students are finding the place that they belong socially, that they're having academic success, that they really feel like they're part of something greater than themselves. We know that you're making a really big investment when it comes to college, and so graduating our students on time is another thing that's really important to us. And in a usual year, within 6 months of graduation, 98% of all of our students have that next step figured out within 6 months. For a lot of students, that's a job or going on to graduate school. Maybe it's doing full-time service or serving in the military. Wherever you wind up, we have alumni clubs across the country and around the world. And those alumni will be really great resources for you. They will be incredible supports as you look for internships or research opportunities while you're at Notre Dame, and then as you search for where to go after you graduate. I do want to quickly note that we're really committed to making Notre Dame accessible for all students. So for all of our domestic applicants, we do read applications need blind, which means your family's ability to pay is not a factor in the decisions we make. We meet 100% of demonstrated financial need for all of our domestic applicants. So if we admit you, we really want you to be able to come to Notre Dame. Last piece I want to note is that we are test optional for the next couple of years. So for students who are wondering whether or not they should submit test scores, that's really up to you and whether or not you think it's going to strengthen your application. But if any of this resonates with you, this idea of being a force for good or being part of a really strong community, I'm looking forward to answering any questions you might have, and I'll share out my contact information and pass this off to the next presenter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Notre Dame. And just a reminder to anybody who recently joined us, please do feel free to utilize that Q&A to ask questions. But up next is Trinity University.
Thank you so much, Christopher, and good evening. My name is Nicole Fredo Garcia. I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions at Trinity University here in San Antonio, Texas, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. So there are a few liberal arts colleges that I'm sure you're going to hear from tonight, and so the piece that I want to sort of start with is that I will be sharing 5 things that set Trinity apart, not individually, but together. And so you'll see that some of these you'll find at other institutions, but it's really rare to find all of these. So the first one is our size. This is pretty indicative of a liberal arts college, right? We're 2,500 students undergrad, and we do not have any teaching assistants. So that means that every single one of your courses here at Trinity is taught by that expert in the field. And the focus is on our undergraduate students because we only have a handful of graduate students on our campus. And so you really have that specialized attention. And that means all of the resources are for you as an undergraduate student as well. The next piece that is also important is the flexibility of our curriculum. So when you apply to Trinity, you do not apply under any sort of major. So you might express an interest in the School of Business or engineering or global Latinx studies, but you don't actually declare your major until the end of your sophomore year. And so our curriculum is designed in a way for you to explore both those intended interests, right? Maybe that you have right now as a 16, 17-year-old, but also to give space for you to change your mind and still graduate on time. And so it is really interesting that at a space like us, we have the number of majors and minors that we do, and that we have things like a fully accredited School of Business, an ABET accredited engineering program, while also some of those more traditional things that you find at a liberal arts college, but also things that you don't, like global Latinx studies as one of our majors as well. The next piece is that Trinity has one of the largest endowments per capita in the country. And so you see those resources play out in several ways. One is in the physical space, right? Those capital investments in our buildings. So even though we're over 150 years old, you're not living in an old residence hall, right? Your residence halls are continuously updated each year, similar to Notre Dame. We're highly residential. And so we want to make sure those spaces are comfortable for you as well. That also means access to technology, our lab spaces, our maker space. We're continuously investing in the physical spaces on campus so that you are able to reap those rewards. That also plays into the way that we package students, our merit aid and need-based aid, and the opportunities that we're able to provide for our students financially. And then the other big thing, of course, is that investment in our faculty. So really being able to hire these top-notch experts in their field who want to be at an undergraduate institution that gives them the opportunity to conduct research, but also to be in the classroom day in and out with students like yourself. The fourth piece is the city. This is one of my favorite pieces. San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the country. And so again, it's really rare to find a liberal arts college in a big city. We're located about 5 minutes from downtown. We're actually situated in a residential area. But the beauty of going to school in a big city is that you have access, one, to an airport to come back and forth, right, between California and San Antonio, direct flights home, but also that means access to internships and jobs. As one of my student interns last year, she interned downtown with the city and then would come back for her 12:30 class, right? And it was really accessible because it only took her a few minutes to get downtown. And so our students are really able to engage and immerse themselves in the culture of the city as well. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we are incredibly diverse. And I mean this very broadly. So both racially, as you'll see here, and these numbers are a little bit outdated, but also in the types of schools that our students come from, socioeconomic class, just perspectives on the world, right? And we really believe that that creates this space to learn and to grow that is much more indicative of the world in which you're going out into as well. And something that a lot of our students are really attracted to is this diversity on campus, both in their students' body peers, but also in their faculty and staff. So a couple of things in terms of applications. We're a Common App school and a coalition school, and those will open over the summer, November 1st deadline. And we are also test optional for the next couple of years, and we'll make a decision on that moving forward. But you'll see here sort of those other requirements to apply if that's of interest to you. And then I'd encourage you to reach out. I work specifically with students in the Bay Area. I would be your counselor. And so my contact information is here. I'll throw it in the chat. We are also open for on-campus visits if that's of interest to you. And then we will have 2 big virtual Trinity and Focus programs this summer if you want a more comprehensive day as well. So I look forward to your questions. And Christopher, I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you very much, Trinity University. Up next will be Swarthmore College.
Thanks so much, Christopher, and hello, everybody. I will be sharing my screen. Just give me a quick second. All right, so we'll be talking briefly about Swarthmore College, which I represent. My name is Yokwin Jo. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Assistant Dean of Admissions at Swarthmore, and I'm also the Regional Director for Northern California. So if you do decide to learn more about Swarthmore, I'm your person in the office, and you'll see my email address here, which I'll put in the chat box for you all later on. So some big picture things about who we are. We are a small, private liberal arts college of liberal arts, sciences, and also engineering. And there are about just 1,600 students who are on our campus. And they come from all 50 states of the United States, as well as represent 85 countries in the world. And there are over 40 programs of study that we offer, and our campus is located right outside the city of Philadelphia. And what's really important about our community is this commitment to social justice, access equity, as well as inclusion and affordability of higher education. So my colleague Nicole just spoke about liberal arts for a little bit, so I'll expand on top of that, is that the liberal arts education that you're looking at, if you're not familiar with it, really gives you a well-rounded view of the world. It gives you a flexible education that'll prepare you for a lot of changes later on in life, right? I'll give you these transferable skills, such as strong reading, critical thinking, analysis, strong writing skills, so that you're prepared for whatever you choose to do later on in life. And additionally, there are lots of perks in being part of this small residential community experience, in that you build really intentional and close relationships with both your peers and your professors, and you get to enjoy lots and lots of resources, generous financial aid, funding for internship and research opportunities, as well as study abroad with equitable financial aid practices as well. So more specifically about what Swarthmore is, if you're not familiar with East Coast geography, so we're roughly between New York City and Washington, D.C., right outside the city of Philadelphia. And we're super lucky to be very close to a major city. And there's a train station right at the foot of campus that takes you into downtown Philadelphia in just about 25 minutes. But at the same time, we also enjoy just a gorgeous natural beauty all around us, because our campus is also a national arboretum of over 400 acres of woods. There's a creek that runs through it, and multiple hiking trails, and of course an outdoor amphitheater, which is also where our commencement takes place. And the area of Philadelphia, of suburban Philadelphia, is also very concentrated with colleges and universities. So we have lots of friendships and partnerships. We share pretty much everything with our two partners, Haverford and Bryn Mawr colleges, two other liberal arts schools. So all the classes, student activities, your student card gets your access to all of the other two colleges' facilities and events as well. And you can also cross-register with the University of Pennsylvania through our registration system. In terms of the academic offerings that you'll have access to, like I said, it's very flexible education. So we encourage you to think about your unique academic path and customize your education. So there are over 40 majors and minors to choose from, including lots of interdisciplinary programs such as gender and sexuality studies, peace and conflict studies, East Asian studies, Black studies, that really look at the intersections of different fields of study. Students also have the opportunity to design their own major if it's not currently existing, drawing from multiple disciplines and multiple departments. We also offer engineering, which is pretty rare for small liberal arts schools. We're actually one of the few that offers a fully accredited engineering program. And there's also additional dedicated advising for students who are thinking about medical school or working in the law field later on, so pre-professional advising for students. And last but not least, there's a unique honors program. So there's no other program like this in the US, and it's very in-depth learning and independent research-based a learning experience where you get to be examined by experts in the world who are not related to Swarthmore in any sense, but you'll be examined by world experts on these very matters at your graduation. And speaking out kind of the academic environment at Swarthmore, so we very much cultivate a community that thrives in collaboration. So the very first semester of your freshman year is actually entirely pass-fail, so there won't be any grades. We also don't publish a public GPA on your transcript. Of course, you can calculate it yourself, but the idea is that we remove grades for part of your first year experience and make you think, hey, why are you taking these classes, right? So students have the time to figure things out, right? Make friends, go to all these activities, explore Philadelphia, really kind of figure out your pace, how to be a college student. And we also find that students tend to work together a lot more, right, when grades are not part of the question. So really at Swarthmore, you never hear students ask each other, hey, what did you get on that paper? Or, you know, what did you get in that class? Instead, they'll ask each other, hey, do you know how to do this, right? Let's work on this together. So it's very much a collaborative environment. And we want students to utilize pass-fail, right? To utilize these pass-fail opportunities to really take risks, to take academic risks and intellectual risks. And going back to what I said earlier about kind of our commitment to social justice, we were founded by the Quakers, who were strong believers in justice and peace building and equity and access to resources. So our students are still attracted to these missions, and they uphold these ideas. And there's a lot of opportunities for you to engage with civic and responsibility, projects in neighboring communities and apply for funding in these areas as well. And our students wear a lot of hats, right? You're never just an athlete or just a performer or just an engineer. There are over 100 clubs and organizations to be part of where students find community and share experiences with others. And the last piece that I'll touch on, since I'm coming on time, is our financial aid policy. So we meet 100% of students' determined need, and we're also need blind in making admissions decisions. And the average aid award that we give out to students is about $56,000 a year. And students will be asked to use the FAFSA and the CSS profile to apply for financial aid. So I will end my presentation there and hand it over to my next colleague.
Thank you very much, Swarthmore. Up next is Marist College.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Kent Reinhardt. I'm Dean of Admission at Marist. Marist is located right on the banks of the Hudson River. You can see the river there, and that is our campus. We're actually located 75 miles north of New York City. So we really offer students a great opportunity to be close to a major metropolitan area, but by no means are we in the city. Our campus does go right up along the water. This is our campus on the right-hand side. That's the Hudson River on the left-hand side. Our campus in total is about 225 acres. So to walk from one side to the other of campus is about a 15-minute walk. You can see that we have 5,000 undergraduate students. We have students from virtually every state and nearly 65 countries around the world. If I was to say what Marist is in one sentence, it's this. We offer the power of a global university with the personal touch of a leading liberal arts college. The power of a global university. We offer the resources, the facilities, the technology, the nationally recognized faculty, the research opportunities, the alumni networks, broad experiences, that you would typically find all those things at large universities, but still the personal touch of a leading liberal arts college. There's no lecture halls, no class larger than 35, no teaching assistants or graduate assistants teaching any of the classes. It's a residential campus. So we really offer the best of both worlds. All the power that you'd find at a large university, personal touch of a leading liberal arts college. We do with 3 pillars: innovate, explore, care. Innovate, you're going to find our classrooms are engaging places. It's not where faculty will lecture. It is an active, engaging learning environment for our students. If you walk out of the library, this is the view you'd see there. You can see the river, and we have plenty of open space on the campus as well for students to gather, leisure, study, sunbathe, etc. This is one of several campus greens that we have on the campus. We have a broad range of academic areas for students to study. In fact, 1/3 of our students come in undeclared. We encourage students to be undeclared if they're not sure. And out of the 2/3 who know what they want to do with the rest of their life, over half change their major in the first year. When you're admitted to Marist, you're admitted to all of our academic programs. The only exceptions are fashion design and studio art because they require a portfolio. So if you're not sure, you can come to Marist and we'll help you find your path. In terms of global opportunities, we do have a branch campus in Florence, Italy. At any one time, we'll have 300 to 400 students at our campus in Florence. Classes are taught in English. Students can spend their freshman year there as part of our freshman Florence experience. We also have bachelor degree programs and master's degrees available in Florence. In addition, we have a terrific study abroad program. Nationally, we're ranked number 3 in terms of percentage of students who are studying abroad. Majority of our students will study abroad. It's available in every single major at the college, and the students will go into just about any. We go to every continent except Antarctica. So the opportunities are there for students to go abroad. We are a residential campus. 96% of our students live on campus, and that's really where you get a caring environment, that you develop lifelong friends. And this is one of our residence halls on the campus. Our students are successful in terms of getting jobs as well as graduating. Our graduation rate is well above the national average. You can see our students doing a great job in terms of getting jobs within 6 months of graduation. And they go to some of the best companies in the world, and they get admitted to some of the best graduate schools in the country. Shout out to Notre Dame, you're on our list. And we try to make affordability a top concern. 90% of our students will receive some type of institutional aid from the college. We offer merit scholarships, special program scholarships, as well as need-based financial aid. You can apply through the Common App, our Marist app, or the My Coalition app. And we encourage you to visit us. We have visit programs like most schools. We've been in person with our visits since July. We've hosted over 10,000 visitors this year safely with no transmissions of COVID during that time. We also have self-guided visits and plenty of virtual programs as well. We do have a pre-college program. It's a virtual pre-college program for students that are juniors, going to be upcoming seniors. You can spend a few weeks learning in these areas. You choose one and you can earn 3 college credits as a part of that experience. Finally, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my information into the chat. And I'm going to hand it over to my next colleague.
Thank you very much, Marist. Had a few good questions come in through the Q&A, so please do keep them coming. But up next is the University of Miami.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Jenny Antonelli and I am an assistant director at the University of Miami. I recruit in the Pacific Northwest, so your territory, of course, Northern California, and then I have Washington, Oregon, and Alaska. So to get started, give you some quick facts. So we are a lot smaller than a lot of people think. Most people see our big sports teams on TV, automatically think we're this big 50,000 student institution, and that's not the case. We have about 10,000 undergrads and about 6,000 grad students. So you really are a name and a face and not a number. Our average classes range from 16 to 27 students. So our professors really take pride in getting to know their students, and you would really get to know your professors as well. We have students from 48 out of the 50 states and from more than 100 countries. In terms of our academics, we have more than 180 majors that fall into all of these schools and colleges. So we have 11 schools and colleges overall. 9 of them are undergraduate. 2 of them are our graduate programs. We have our Miller School of Medicine and our law school. Now, something that is unique with UM is that we are a direct admit university. So if you know what it is that you are looking to study, you would put that down on your application. And if you're admitted, you will start out in that major within that school or college. So you'll get to start taking classes in your major from the very beginning. So you'll know early on if it's something that you like, and if it isn't, then you'll have more time to change your mind and to change your major. If you don't know what it is that you're interested in studying, don't worry, don't let that freak you out. You can definitely put undeclared. You'll start out in the College of Arts and Sciences, and you'll be able to start taking classes in different areas and see exactly what it is that you're interested in studying. You know, something on this that I'd like to mention is that your major is not factoring into our admission process, even though you're starting out in the major that you put down, unless you're interested in the performing arts. So if it's music or theater BFA, then we do require an audition, and our architecture program, we recommend a portfolio. But otherwise, it's really just a benefit for you that you're getting to start taking classes in your major sooner rather than later. The other thing that's different in terms of our academics is that we have something called the Cognates Program of General Education. Now, a cognate is a set of 3 courses that are related to one another. You're required to take 3 cognates, 1 in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, 1 in arts and humanities, and 1 in people and society. So you really just have to take 3 classes in each of those 3 areas of knowledge. Your major will automatically complete one of them. Of course, you're going to have more than 3 classes to complete your major, so then you really just have to focus on the other 2. The benefit of the cognates is that you're getting to design your curriculum. We say that our students are the architect of their own education because you're not being forced into taking certain classes that you maybe weren't interested in taking in high school. You're getting to choose the classes that you want to take as long as they fall into these categories. And the other nice thing is that it's really easy to build upon these cognates. So a lot of our students call these mini minors. You've already taken 3 classes in something similar to one another. You take 2 to 3 more, and now you have a minor. You take a few more than that, and now you have a double major. So you really won't meet a UM student who only has 1 major. Most of our students have 2 majors or 2 minors or even 3 minors. So at the end of the day, you have to take the credits in order to graduate anyway. You might as well have something else to put on your resume. We are also a research-based institution. All students are able to do research regardless of major. I know this is the STEM fields that you're looking at in terms of pictures, but if you're interested in marketing or you're interested in communication, whatever it may be, you are able to do research, and that can start as early as your first year. Now, something else I always like to highlight is our city. So we are the University of Miami. We are in Miami, Florida, not Miami, Ohio. So I say that students have the best of both worlds. You have your campus feel. It's not like going to school in some other big cities where you have busy streets running through your campus. You have the greenery, you have the safety of being in a suburb, but then you have the whole city of Miami right in your backyard. So everything that goes along with being in a big city, from professional sports teams to different cultures, performing arts centers, museums, all of those things. And then of course, the most important one, jobs and internships. So just because of our location, we are the crossroads of the Americas. A lot of companies have offices in Miami. So that is a plus as well, getting your foot in the door early on. We have a career center on campus who helps students, again, as early as your first year, to start crafting those resumes and cover letters and get those experiences throughout your 4 years of college. And then the last thing I want to mention, in terms of our deadlines, we have 4 different pools for students to apply into. As you can see them there on the screen, we do have 2 early decision pools, so not a lot of schools have that option. But in terms of this, all students are automatically considered for scholarships at the time of admission. So that's definitely an important thing to hit. You don't have to submit an additional essay or an additional application. We automatically consider students for that. The most important thing is if you apply by our November 1st deadline, you're eligible for our Premier scholarships. Those are full cost of attendance and full cost of tuition. So an added benefit of applying early. And then the last thing, we do not know yet if we will continue to be test optional. So I know that that's something on a lot of students' minds. So just hang tight a little bit for us to make that announcement. And then I will turn it over to my next colleague.
Very much, University of Miami. And our final presentation comes from Olin College of Engineering.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. My name is Dan Johnston. I am Olin College of Engineering's Regional Admission Counselor. And tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about Olin College, who we are, and what we're about. So to get started, we'll talk a little bit about our population and where we are. So Olin College is made up of about 330 to 350 students, depending on the year. We are located in Needham, Massachusetts, so just outside of Boston. And really everything that we do, from the way we hire our faculty and our staff members to certainly the way that we are recruiting our students is kind of centered on this idea of engineering for good. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means as we move forward. So one of the questions we often get is why here? So for those that are not familiar, Olin, we are a relatively young institution. Our first graduating class was in 2006. So we were founded in the late 90s. So why here? Why put another small private school in the Boston area, right? Aren't there enough of them? Really, the opportunity was too great to be really in the middle of 2 fantastic institutions that really tie into what we're trying to do with this idea of engineering for good. So we are a part of what's called the BOW collaboration, which stands for Babson, Olin, and Wellesley. And this BOW collaboration, each student, the students at these institutions are able to cross-register at the different institutions. So I'll say in our sense from engineering, why this is impactful is because if you think of what engineering does, what's happening in engineering, it's always bringing something new to the market. It's bringing something new to society. It's on the cutting edge of technology. So being able to take classes, business classes like accounting and finance at such an amazing business institution like Babson really is an awesome opportunity. So for students that have an idea and they want to bring a new product to market, being able to have that business background is an awesome opportunity. Likewise, being able to take classes at Wellesley, which is one of the premier all-women's liberal arts colleges in the country as well, enables our students to take some very high-quality humanities. So who are we and what do we do? So how we do this idea of engineering for good is first through undergraduate teaching and learning in small supportive communities. So we are all undergraduate, and that is on purpose. And we are, as you saw, we are relatively small. So the idea behind that really is one of the reasons why we are that way is to allow a lot of access, personal access, for our students to interact with faculty and staff. So many of the students, if not all the students, know the faculty members by their first name. They have that kind of respectful relationship. And so being that we're all undergraduate and we're on the smaller side, if you have, if a particular interest in research and there's a professor at Olin that is also doing that research, they are able to meet one-on-one with that professor and get in their lab and start doing research and things like that. So we're able that smaller community helps build impactful relationships. The next thing is our curriculum is rooted in teamwork, project-based learning, and practical skills. So this is definitely one area where a lot of students come to Olin because they're interested in our project-based learning curriculum. So what that means is, if you are an engineering student, engineering education has to be project-based. It has to be hands-on. But one of the ways that we're different at Olin is that project-based learning starts right away. So you don't have any kind of pre-engineering courses or general education courses that need to be completed. You jump straight into that project-based learning right away. So instead of having like a lecture where there could be 300 or 400 people in a lecture hall, and then maybe you have a lab that goes along with what the professor was trying to teach, you are going to start learning right away using project and using your hands, reinforcing what the professor was teaching. And that also helps build practical skills as well. Next is that we have a focus in the design, arts and humanities, social sciences, and entrepreneurship. So I like to say that Olin College is an all engineering school, not just an engineering school. And it's because of this idea of engineering for good, we can't do that. We can't provide positive change in the world through engineering without keeping the world in mind, without keeping the humanities a part of what we're doing. So just because we are an engineering school, and yes, you will graduate with a degree in engineering, the arts and humanities and entrepreneurship are not lost. The majors that we do offer, you can see here: mechanical engineering, electrical and computer engineering, and then we do have a general engineering degree with different concentrations in design, computing, robotics, bioengineering, and then we do have a self-design option, which is somewhat that's a little bit more unique for an engineering school as well. Some impacts of Olin, as I finish up here, you can see these companies that you see are some of our highest employers, as well as many of the places our students are getting internships, 100% of our grads the past couple of years have did a technical internship. Many of them did more than two. You can see the starting salary is around almost $90,000 the past couple of years. And then finishing up with our application process. Our application process is a bit unique in that it's two stages, which I am happy to talk about later on. And we will also, just so you know, we do meet 100% of demonstrated need based off of the FAFSA. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak with you, and have a great night.
Thank you very much, Olin, and thank you to all of our panelists for your great presentations. Attendees, we hope this gave you a good overview of schools of varying size, location, etc. We do have some time remaining, so if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop them in the Q&A. While we're waiting to see what comes in, perhaps we can do one round of questions here ourselves. So my question is, what's one thing you did not have time to present on that you'd like to quickly cover now? Perhaps that's your favorite event or tradition on campus, a fun fact about your school, or just something you didn't have time to talk about. So why don't we go in that same order, and we'll start with Notre Dame.
Yeah, so something I didn't talk about, but I think is really relevant for all of you in California is that we have something called Notre Dame California. It's a group of employees who basically full-time job is to build and maintain partnerships with alumni and companies across the state. So if you are somebody who's thinking about, I definitely want to explore kind of a new environment for college, but I think I want to wind up back in California. I think that's a really unique opportunity. We also have one of our domestic study abroad options at Notre Dame located in Silicon Valley. So we have the Silicon Valley semester. That's a really popular option for students who are particularly interested in kind of working in tech and things like that. So if you're interested in study abroad, whether that's domestic or international, about 75% of students do that at Notre Dame. Just know that you will definitely be in good company. And I will pass it off to Trinity.
Thanks, Maria. One thing that I didn't talk about is our Students and Startups program, which is part of our entrepreneurship program. And so if you've ever seen Shark Tank, it's like a mini Shark Tank, and it's something that happens on our campus, both in the fall and the spring, and it allows students to get together, even outside of the entrepreneurship program, to build a company and compete for initial seed money. The initial seed money is $5,000, and there's usually 6 to 7 teams who are awarded that. And then you come back to compete for the full Stumberg award of $25,000 to go towards your LLC and then participate in an accelerator program. Over the summer, you work hands-on with an entrepreneur who helps you really get the company off the ground and running. So we've seen a lot of companies both succeed and fail out of the program, and certainly a safe space to fail when it's not your own money as well. So something to check out there.
Great. So something I didn't get to mention, and I hope that you all do a little research into this, is fly-in programs. Lots of colleges and universities offer fly-ins. So if you're hearing this for the first time, so it's usually for rising seniors or current juniors during the summer of their junior year. It's an all expenses paid trip to the college, paid for by the college and university, for you to spend a few days on the college campus, go to classes, engage with professors and current students, and really get to see if the school is a fit for you. So it's a great way to get a head start on the college search process and to really experience college life with everything paid for by the college, but also to gain valuable information on both admissions and financial aid. So Swarthmore's flying program is called Discover Swarthmore, and our application is currently open. So I will just put that link in the chat for you to learn a bit more. And I'll pass it on to Marist.
Something I did not talk about is our Marist to Manhattan program. Students can spend an entire semester living in Manhattan. We have housing down there, and doing a full semester of internship. It's particularly interesting for students that are interested in communications or fashion or finance. So that opportunity is available to you. If you don't want to spend an entire semester in Manhattan, there are trains every hour from Poughkeepsie, which is where Marist is located, down to Grand Central Terminal in Midtown Manhattan. They go every hour, 7 days a week. One other tidbit, I often get asked, do students jump in the river, the Hudson River that we're adjacent to, and the college does not encourage it, but it is on many students' senior bucket list. On to Miami we go.
That was a fun one to end on. Thank you. So something that I didn't mention is study abroad, as a couple of my colleagues have mentioned. So we have something, we of course have the traditional study abroad route, and then we also have something called U programs. So we have 8 of those, and this is where faculty design the programs, and then they are led by those faculty. So students go abroad with faculty and fellow students. So if they know they want to be taught by a professor and stay with students, then they could choose from one of those. They're in places like the Galapagos. That's one that's really popular for the marine sciences, as well as the communication majors. There's one in Paris, Prague, Rome, Shanghai, India, South America. So again, there's 8 of those to choose from, just if you know that you want to be taught by a professor. And I will now pass it off to Olin.
Two things I'll mention. The first, really quickly, is that we are one of the few kind of STEM institutions that is gender balanced. So we have just about an equal 50% male to female identified ratio of students. And then kind of on the study abroad front, we actually have a program called Study Away, where students can take classes. They'll be Olin students, but they can study away at an institution within the United States. So this often happens with students that want to go really in depth on a specific subject, sometimes within engineering, or it may be in the overall STEM field, chemistry or biology, and they want to get a much in-depth experience for a semester. They can do a study away semester. So again, it's not just an engineering school. There's a lot that can be done there. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Again, thank you to all of our panelists for spending this time with us this evening. And certainly thank you to all of our attendees for joining us. We hope you got some good information out of the session, and we'll continue these conversations with these institutions. Before we wrap up this session, just a few quick housekeeping items. When you do close this window, you will receive a very quick 4-question survey that we ask that you complete. Again, there are 2 other blocks of sessions this evening, so if you haven't signed up for those yet, please do feel free to do so. And about 1 week from today, a recording of the session will be available on that same registration website. But thank you again to everybody, and to all the students. Good luck in your college search. Have a great evening.